This image is actually from Adobe, Classroom in a Book. I've been using it for a long time, used the book for many years, but it's a great image for learning the basics on our retouching tools, which is the reason why I'm showing you and looking at this. So as you can see, it's a copy of an old photograph, an old Instamatic. You can see the seam where it's been folded. 5 kids are standing here on the bridge, and it's got some skew to it. So we're going to start with the crop tool. I'm going to tap the letter C. And so one thing I can do is I can come in and do it by hand, or I can click on my straighten tool. And I'm going to just zoom back out a little bit. So if I click in this corner and drag it over to this corner, Photoshop will make it straight and be horizontal. Then I can come in and get rid of the outer edges, just like that. And I'm going to tap the return key, and that sets it in place. So now I've straightened the image and come back with it. If I zoom in on the image itself, I can see there's a lot of spots in here. There's a hair up here. So a real nice way to get rid of these is using the spot healing tool. And the way I suggest you do retouching and repair work is on their own layers, so that you're working in a non-destructive manner. So I'm going to add a new empty layer, and I'm going to name it Sky Retouch. And I'm going to go to my spot healing tool, which is, I'll tap the letter J, but the spot healing tool is right here. That's what it looks like. It's got a little rainbow dot above it. The way it works, and before we get started, right up here we want to make sure Sample All Layers is checked, so that it'll sample the information from the background and put it on the Sky Retouch layers, what it's going to allow me to do. I suggest using a brush that's very hard, so somewhere around 90 to 100, because it's a smart healing tool, so it knows how to handle the edge. We don't want to over feather anything, and in order to take away the texture from the original. And my suggestion is work with as small a brush as possible, but one that's big enough. So for this hair, I can just follow the hair around and do it in a kind of a stroke, and you can see that it just disappears easily. Hopefully you saw. Let me zoom in. You can see these spots. So if I just click up in here, I'm not going to get rid of all of them, but this brush or tool is very easy to use. It's just a click. Sometimes if you paint with it, it'll smear, and so I tend to use it as a clicking brush rather than a painting brush. I have seen it smeared away, but you can see how quickly these dots go away and easily. The folks at Adobe have done a beautiful job at creating a very smart tool with this spot healing. And so we could also use the spot healing on the tear, but what I want to show you is another tool on how it works. So that's how the spot healing tool works. For this, I'm going to show you the tools. They may not be the best tools or the easiest tools, the quickest tools, but you need to see how they work. Sometimes the spot healing tool doesn't work quite right, especially near edges of objects. I'm going to go to the healing brush tool right underneath the spot heal. The way this works is you come near the area that you want to retouch, and again, before we get going, we're going to make sure that we say on all layers, so that it will pick from the background and put on the empty layer. And at this point, I could make a new empty layer and label it seam removal. Now right here is an important one, aligned. If I align it, the way this brush works, I have to hold down the option key. So as you see, the brush changes. So I'm going to option click there. I'm going to let go of the option, and then I'm going to see. This one can be a painting tool, and you can see that it follows the cross. Where the cross is, crosshairs on the right, it's picking information from there and putting it into my brush circle, and my brush circle tries to match the color and density around the outer edges of the brush. That's what it's doing. If I let go, the cross goes away. When I check again, it comes up in the same spot. So this is an XY coordinate. It's a relationship. The two locations stay aligned to each other based on my original option clicking. If I uncheck it, I'm going to undo that so we have the line back. I'm going to uncheck it. I'm going to option click here. I'm going to come over here and click. I painted some, then I stop. Then I click again. Notice that the cross goes back to the original option click point. That's what the align does. Is do you want to keep pulling from the same location, or do you want to pick up and change the density? Because in this case, what we have is the sky changes density from top to bottom and color. So we don't want to really pick from the same location. So we do want to keep it aligned because we want to pull from near the seam and put that into that information. So I'm going to check aligned. I'm going to option click again, and sometimes when you get up to the top, let me do that again, and let me zoom in on the screen. If I option click here, then I let go of the option key, I come here to paint. Notice the crosshairs. See how it gets to the edge, and now I can't change that last little bit. That's because the selection points location was up ahead of me. So now I have to come back and option click again, and then I can get rid of that spot. And sometimes if it has a flaw, it'll pick up that flaw and put it in where you're going. So now I come back and I option click slightly behind, and I can just quickly go down. So that's how easily the healing brush works. I'm going to command Z to undo because I want to show the tools more than anything else. Now I'm going to go to our clone stamp tool, the letter S, and it works the same way as the healing brush. I have to option, click, let go of the option key, and then come over and put it. Now the difference with this brush, the clone stamp, and the healing is that it's not a smart repair tool. It takes the exact information from where you option click and puts it in here. There's no proximity match on color and density. The feathering also is much more important on here. For the sky, no. Typically somewhere around 70 for the sky would be good because we want just a slight amount of feathering, but not so much that it blurs the detail in the texture. So the spot heal and the healing brush work the same way in that you have to option click to take it off, take it away, and also you can come in with all layers. You have to make sure, always check all layers, because that way we can put it in here. I know I'm putting everything in here right now, but I'm showing the basic use of the tools. Now what we have is, if I come down into, I'm still on the clone stamp, so if I come down here, now it's going to pick up from the cross and put it there, and put it inside my brush. See how the archway came down? So this is a much trickier repair tool to use than the other ones that we've seen. So if I go back to the spot, to the healing brush, option click, let's see what happens here. Not as bad, but it's still there. So anytime you have to tell Photoshop where to pick from, it's going to have a potential to create problems because of the information. All right, let's zoom back in. I change to the spot healing brush. Make the brush slightly bigger. I come down, multiple edges, and it starts to see the outside of the brush. It's selecting from itself, determining what the information is, and rewrites it accordingly. So it's a smart repair tool, and it works beautifully well. It's not perfect. Sometimes you have to come back in and then assist it with the clone stamp or another healing tool, coming back with there. So that's how those three tools work. If I come on down, I can also continue to do that, and that easily. Isn't that cool? I'm always amazed at how smart the folks at Adobe are. So and how great it works sometimes, not all the time. All right, so I'm gonna come back to the patch tool. It's under the subset with the spot healing and the healing brush. It's called a patch tool. And the unfortunate thing about the patch tool is that it can't be done on all layers. We have to do it on the original, on pixels. So it's a destructive tool. The other ones are non-destructive, which makes them wonderful. The way it works, let me zoom in so you can see the cursor. The black arrowhead is the pointer where it draws from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline this guy, because my family are the 4 kids in the middle. This guy just happened to be there. My family walked up and was looking over the bridge, but this kid was already here. So all I have to do now is bring my cursor back in, and you see the 2 arrowheads. I click, I drag over to the left, and then I align the top and bottom of the wall. And then I try not to touch the shadow too much, so it's darker. And now that it's aligned, I let go, and you can see that it took the information here, including some of the shadow. It darkened it down right here. And a little bit of see this brighter area, but we can come back with our spot healing tool and clean up some of that. We can't fix the background, but at least the boy is done. I mean, we can fix the background, but not all in one step. So the patch tool is great when you have larger areas to try and control, and to at least have a better starting point for the other repair tools coming back with that. So it works quite easily, just like that. And so now I am going to tap return and Command D to deselect. Now what I have is an image that has my 4 kids. It does not have the other. Doesn't have the seam. Doesn't have all the spots in the sky, but it doesn't have a good white balance. So I'm going to add a curves. I'm going to come in and grab the middle eyedropper, and I'm going to click on a supposedly white area that may be a little too blue, but that looks a whole lot better. Oh, look at this. Look at this is all my retouching. So that's the color that the image was before, but the reason why it's showing up the way it is, because it's above the curves. So if I come back, I'm going to drag the curves on above the retouch, and now they're gone. And so I cropped, I did white balance. Again, it's probably a little too blue, but I would click around to make that better. And we've looked at the spot healing, patch, and clone stamp, and those are our retouching tools.